What's up guys, and welcome to my release Yao Guang guide. In this video I'm taking you over everything you do need to know in order to understand and build Yao Guang, including a kit overview, best Lightcone options, best relics and Planar ornaments, the main stats and substats you want to run, and then finally some general team building ideas, albeit is going to be a lot shorter than usual just because there's not many teams you can really do, and as Yao Guang is more of a release now, use later unit. But before we hop into it, for any of you that need to recharge for all these brutal banners we are getting, stuck grinding in Honkai Star Rail, need Stellar Jades fast, we've got you covered. Head over to U7 Buy, your ultimate gaming hub for save fast and cheap in-game top-ups. Whether it's Star Rail or your other favorite games, U7 delivers instantly and players love it. Check out their Trustpilot reviews, they're actually top ranked. On the Honkai Star Rail direct top-up page, you can recharge your account in seconds. For example, 8080 Honorific shards cost $99.99 in the official store, but on U7 Buy, you can see here it's way cheaper. Just pick your server, enter UID, pay securely, and boom, your account is instantly loaded. Want extra savings? Use code PRETSR at checkout for 5% off, perfect for last minute pulls, battle passes, or surprising a friend. And here's a bonus. If you spend $80 a month on U7 Buy, you can grab the Honkai Star Rail Express Pass for only 1 cent, which is nearly free. Click on the link in my description, recharge fast, save more, and keep blazing those trails. Yao Guang's basic attack deals physical damage based off her attack to a designated enemy and physical damage based off her attacks to a target's adjacent to it, and the energy regenerated from basic attack increases to 30. Her skill puts down a zone for 3 turns that decreases by 1 at the start of Yao Guang's every turn. While the zone is active, all allies' elation increases by an amount equal to 20% of Yao Guang's elation, and after Yao Guang uses basic attack or skill, gains 3 punchline. Her ultimate gains 5 punchline. Aha immediately gets 1 extra turn where the fixed amount of punchline is 20, and in that turn it does not consume any punchline, and will also increase all allies all-type rest pen by 20% for 3 turns. Her talent, when Yao Guang holds Certified Banger, after an allied target uses an attack, triggers a Great Boon effect, which will deal 1 additional instance of 20% elation damage of corresponding type to a random hit enemy, and if that attack consumes skill points, then additionally triggers Great Boon effect 1 time. When triggering Great Boon, if the attacker's elation is lower than that of Yao Guang's, then this instance of elation damage will instead take Yao Guang's elation into calculation. Yao Guang's technique will make it to where the next battle she will automatically use her skill without consuming a skill point, and if you have Yao Guang on the team when destroying an object, immediately will grant Fortune Pouch up to 8 times within every Earth week. And then for her elation skill, will inflict Woe's Whisper on all enemies for 3 turns. Enemies that have Woe's Whisper will take 16% increased damage, deals 100% physical elation damage to all enemies, then deals 5 instances of 20% physical elation damage to 1 random enemy. Yao Guang's A2 will increase her elation by 30% when she reaches 120 speed or higher. For every 1 speed exceeding 120, increases this unit's elation by 1%, up to a maximum of 200 excess speed can be taken into account. Her A4 will increase this unit's crit damage by 60%. After using elation skill, recovers 1 skill point for the team. And her A6, when Yao Guang gains Certified Banger, its duration increases by 1 turn. For Eidolons, her E1 will make the fixed amount punchline taken into her ultimate to 40 instead of 20, and when all allies deal elation damage, it will ignore 20% of the target's defense. Her E2, while the zone is active, will increase all allies' speed by 12% and increase elation by 16%. Her E4, in the Aha extra turn triggered by Yao Guang's ultimate, the damage dealt by all allies' elation skill becomes 150% of the original damage, and her E6, all allied targets' elation damage Mary makes by 25%, increases the damage multiplier of Yao Guang's elation skill by 100% of its original multiplier. The Lightcone options, of course, her own signature option is going to be far and none the best in slot, providing 18% speed for the wearer. When the wearer enters combat or uses ultimate on an allied target, the wearer gains Great Fortune for 3 turns. While they have Great Fortune, all allies' crit rate is increased by 10% and crit damage is increased by 30%, while the wearer's energy regen rate increases by 12%, and at the start of each wave, the wearer will regenerate a fixed amount of 15 energy. As Yao Guang wants to be built as fast as possible, the 18% speed increase is going to be significantly better than anything else when it comes to building her, and also just makes her infinitely easier to build. On top of that, just for free going into battle and being able to have this up for a good amount of times, there might be very rare times where you don't have it up, but 10% crit rate and 30% crit damage for the team is insanely good, and elation future teams are going to want the crit anyways, so it is going to benefit them in the future as well. The crit value there is just insanely good, and to top it all off, it provides Yao Guang herself with 12% more energy regen rate, so you can try to get your ultimate a bit quicker. The extra 15 energy is also the reason that you are going to be able to ult right away in battle, so if the battle starts, you use basic attack, you will have ultimate. If you don't have this Lightcone, you will not be able to do that, and will have to get energy via either an ally or getting hit by an enemy. This Lightcone removes the need for that. So everything it provides makes this far and none her best in slot. Unfortunately, she isn't working with too many other options. Another one you can use is the Shurumi Adventure, which will increase elation by 12% for the wearer, and when the wearer uses an elation skill, increases elation damage taken by all enemies by 6% for 2 turns, and at S5 it's 20% and 10%. Just an increase to elation alone is going to be good, as you do want to increase elation as the battle goes, and this just gives you a free 20% out the gate. As elation is not working with many characters right now, the longer we go on and we get more elation characters, a further increased elation is going to be more beneficial, and there's not many sources of elation damage, of course, as Yao Guang is the only one right now until Sparksy releases, so the 10% elation damage is only going to impact Yao Guang herself until Sparksy does release. But on the Sparksy team, that of course is going to be the main source of damage, and you want to increase it, so providing the vulnerability to elation is a good part of her role, so this is another really good option you can use. The Battle Pass Lightcone is also really good on her, providing 12% crit rate, and when the wearer uses an elation skill, increases elation by 12%, stacking up to 2 times, and when it is able to be S5, 20% crit rate with 20% increase to elation. Very simple, the crit rate is going to make her even easier to build, as you do want to maintain a good crit ratio on her, while also getting an increase to elation in battle by 20% up to 2 times, which is 40%. And since she's able to force proc Aha in the beginning of the battle nearly, you're going to be able to stack this up super quickly, especially in the future when Aha instant is going to be even faster after her own proc. So a very simple yet very good Lightcone to use on her. If you have access to none of these, you can really just use either or for the 3 stars. Elation doesn't have many options, as you can clearly see it because it just came out. This one is free, so you should have no excuse. This is the one you should use, but in the meantime, you can just use either one of these 3 until you get this, replace it immediately. Relic sets, her best in slot is the new Distant Reach set. 2-piece increases speed by 6%, 4-piece before entering combat if the wearer's speed is greater than 120/160, wearer will get a 10%/18% increase to crit rate. When the wearer uses elation skill for the first time in each battle, increases all allies' elation by 10% and cannot stack. 2-piece is going to make her easier to build for her speed thresholds. 4-piece provides up to 80% crit rate, which makes Yao Guang even easier to build, as it can help you allocate a lot more stats into speed and also crit damage. And on top of that, first time you use elation skill, which does include her Aha instant activate in her ultimate, you're going to be able to increase everyone's elation by 10%, so that's going to be good for overall elation damage. Really, this is the only set you want to run for a 4-piece and is one of the 2 only sets you can really run. So when you are farming, of course, this is the best in slot and this is the one you want to use, as everything provided is significantly better than anything else. In the meantime, you can use 4-piece Hackerspace with a 2-piece increasing speed by 6% as well. 4-piece when the wearer uses their ultimate on an ally. Speed for all allies will increase by 12% for 1 turn and cannot stack. Same thing as I mentioned with 2-piece of the other set, the 6% speed makes her easier to build. On top of that, the 4-piece for when the wearer does use their ultimate on an ally, which she does, everyone gets 12% speed, so that's going to benefit everyone for 1 turn. The problem is, since Yao Guang is fast, you're going to expire this effect very quickly. So be sure it's actually helping you hit a speed breakpoint to the point that it actually doesn't matter in the beginning, since she will again act really quickly after that, and then it's going to overall be done. Of course, if someone else is slower on the team, they might see it for longer, but in the end, it doesn't matter if it's actually helping you hit a breakpoint of speed, or at least letting you act quicker to the point it makes you act before an enemy. Otherwise, it's not really worth running. Only thing past that would be 2-piece speed, or 2-piece speed and 2-piece crit. So you can combine 2-piece of Warrior Goddess, 2-piece Relieve Ordeal, or 2-piece Hackerspace for best building, and the maximum amount of speed you can get. Or you can combine 2-piece speed with one of the crit sets if you want better damage, so 2-piece Scholar for the crit rate, 2-piece Wave Strider for the crit damage. World Making Deliver also provides 8% crit rate. The new Ever Glorious set also does provide crit damage as a 2-piece, so it would really just be a combination of those. For Planar Ornaments, unfortunately there isn't one that is perfectly coded for elation and or Yao Guang specifically, and 4.0 is not really bringing one either, but for now, there are a few options you can use depending on if you want to run her more supportive or more DPS. One of the supportive ones is going to be Loose Shaka, providing 5% energy regen rate for the wearer and 12% attack for the character positioned first in the team lineup. Just ensure the character that is getting the attack buff does benefit from the attack, otherwise it would be useless, wouldn't it? The upcoming character Sparksy has a trace that is able to convert attack to elation, so this can be really good when running Yao Guang alongside Sparksy, but that trace does have a limit, so this potentially might be useless, or it could help you allocate more sets into something else on your Sparksy itself. So that is definitely something worth considering. You can also run Broken Keel with 10% effect res and 10% crit damage for the entire team when reaching 30% or higher effect res. Elation damage is able to crit, so building crit is going to be good for any of them, and so you can run this. Unfortunately, it doesn't provide energy regen, but it is still very much possible. And another option would be Von Walk. Von Walk also does work with 5% energy regen rate, and reaching 120 speed or higher, which is not going to be a problem whatsoever. The wearer's action is advanced forward by 40% immediately upon entering battle. This is only really something you want to use if you are trying to reach 3 turns within the first MLC cycle, as this doesn't really need you to build a full 200 plus speed or have a lot of action advanced setups on the team. It still does require you to build a good amount of speed, about 173.4 to actually reach the 3 turns in the first MLC cycle, but on a character like Yao Guang, that's actually very doable, and then of course you can mitigate it more with any speed buffs on the team and or action advances from DDD. So if you want to reach those thresholds, this is going to be really good, and if you want to look into more of a DPS sided Yao Guang, she also doesn't have too many options here, but the ones you can do are both in the same world that you can farm. One of them is Unclaimed Desolation, providing 4% crit rate and increasing the wearer's crit damage by 4% for every enemy defeated, up to 10 times. Of course, if you can fully stack it, depends on the mode, but 4% crit rate and a decent amount of crit damage in something like MLC or APOC, you can probably get around 15% plus every battle, and then in something like Pure Fiction, you can fully stack it up no problem. This is overall going to be best for the stats, providing the fact that you don't need all the crit rate that I'm going to mention in the other set. The extra crit rate provided here is also going to make it easier to build, making this pretty good to use, and the other one is the Easemo set, providing 12% attack for the wearer, which unfortunately is useless, as the only thing affected by Yao Guang's attack in her kit is her basic attack, which is useless even with the E6 Yao Guang. So you really don't build attack on her at all, but it's mainly for the fact that you can get 12% crit rate when entering the battle with the same path as a wearer, at least one other teammate. In this case, it would be Sparksy when she does release, so you'd want to run this on her when Sparksy does release. Unfortunately, starting off for the first 3 weeks, you're not going to be able to, but once Sparksy does release, you will be able to. And then in the future, if you don't pull Sparksy, you're going to have to wait for longer, but maybe if you pair her with another Elation character later, then you can do that as well. But by then, there's going to be a new Planar anyways. For the main stats on the relics, for the body, you would run crit rate or crit damage corresponding to which one you need more, although with the new set, it's most likely going to be crit damage. For the feet, you want to run speed. For the orb, you want to run HP% or defense percent, and for the link rope, you want energy regen rate. For the substats, first your goal is going to be getting hyperspeed speed, which is 160.1 or higher, not only to make sure her 4-piece from the relic set that she does have as her best in slot is active, but she just naturally wants to be built fast to get a good amount of turns to attack more and also generate more energy back for herself. Also, the more speed you do build, every 1 speed above 120 is going to increase elation, so there's not really a limit. The bare minimum is going to be hyperspeed, once again 160.1, and then everything above that is welcome. There isn't really a limit you want to go for. Past that, if you are running Broken Keel, of course get 30% effect res, but for any other reason, it would be focusing on crit rate, crit damage, and survivability stats. Every Elation character is probably going to want a form of crit. Yao Guang is no different, even as a more support, but she's also a sub DPS that wants a crit and adds up to good damage. Because of that, you want to ensure you are critting most of your hits, so try to build as much crit rate as you can to get close as 100% as possible. She does have crit rate traces, and her set also gives her up to 18% crit rate, so realistically, it's not going to be that difficult. Have 100% crit rate in battle, you would just need a total of 82%, which can be a bit difficult depending on what you do have, but ideally just getting around 70% minimum is going to be good. For crit damage, just get as much as possible. With Yao Guang, you can very much shoot for something like 150%, and above that would be even better. And then you would mainly just focus on survivability stats just so you can stay alive longer, especially if you're someone that does sustain this run, so HP%, defense percent, and even more effect res so you don't get CC'd. You could also throw in some attack percent there. It really doesn't matter though, because again, it only would impact her basic attack damage, which is in any level of investment not going to really be impactful. So for the most part, you can ignore attack in general, so you would focus on speed to the amounts I did mention, then you would focus on effect res 30% if you're running Keel, and then crit rate, crit damage to get a good ratio overall. And finally, for team building, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is practically impossible as she's kind of just like a placeholder on a team. So I'm kind of just going to give you future suggestions, while right now you can kind of slot her in wherever, but she's never really going to be best in slot. So the future team, and it's going to be her best in slot team when Sparksy does release, is going to be Yao Guang, Sparksy. Third slot, which I can't put another unit in there in the meantime, is going to be Sparkle, and then the last slot would go to your sustain. Huohuo is really good in the slot because of the energy and attack for Sparksy specifically, but if you are not able to use Huohuo or you don't have her, you can very much use Daning as well. Either or grade, Huohuo is going to have the edge, so it would be these three and then Sparksy as the main DPS of the team. If you're doing sustainless, you would sub out Huohuo. The only two that have complete buff/debuffs that work with Elation and are the ones you want to run is Tribi or Cypher. Funny enough, both Quantum characters. So for a sustainless team, it would look something like this, and then again, last slot Sparksy. And then for other teams, it would kind of just be subbing out whatever more AoE buffer you have on a team. Like for Archer as an example, the team would of course be Yao Guang, then Sparkle, and then Archer himself, as that's the main team, and last slot would be your sustain. And then for sustainless, you can throw in Cypher or Silverwolf. That's kind of how the team would be for sustainless. And same thing with someone like Fei Xiao as well, even though it's a bit less apparent on her just because it's even worse there. But it would be her, Fei Xiao, and then someone like Robin, because without Robin, Fei Xiao does receive a pretty big drop off. So you would put Robin, and then you would also either do a character like Cypher if you're doing sustainless, or if you're doing sustained, you can just go ahead and run someone like Adventure in there as well, or whatever sustain is available. Do note, for these teams that are non-elation related, Yao Guang is going to be a downgrade to their best teams. Never is going to be the best option. She's going to be the best for Sparksy teams though, and for probably future elation teams. She is kind of a character released in an awkward spot where she's not going to be best for anyone until Sparksy does release. That's going to be your best in slot team, and then as more elation characters gets released, she'll have more teammates. For now, it's really just suboptimal fun. And that is the full guide to Yao Guang. I do hope you found this video helpful. If you did, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all the types of style content. And I'll see you later. Peace out.